I'm Frank. When you shopped a long time ago, did you normally go to one shop or lots of different ones?
I'm Penny Farmer, and I was brought up in Suffolk Street. I was born there, brought up there. My father had a bakery there. You went to all different shops. There weren't supermarkets. The first big shop to come was the Co-op, which everybody rather looked down at. They came down from the north, and it was looked down on in the Bath Road. But you had everything down the Bath Road, from butchers, bakers, fishmongers, ironmongers, haberdashers, who sold everything. That was a wonderful shop, Shills.
Can I ask Penny how long ago that was?
Well, I was born in 1944, so that was the end of the war.
Good morning, my name's David. I'm slightly older than this lady here, and I remember the war. And the lady was going on about sweets. We used to have 3/4 of a pound. That's about 350 grams, I think, of sweets to last a whole month.
Wow.
So I don't know how you would get on with that. That's about 1.5 bars of chocolate. The shops, there was a big post office at the Nord Arms, you know, where there's a second-hand shop at the moment. And opposite there was a sweet shop called Mrs. Blake's. That was a marvellous shop. And you could buy a piece of licorice or something like that for a penny.
Hello, my name's Jill, and I'm not going to talk about Bath Road. I'm going to talk about Painswick Road. There used to be a grocer's shop there and the lady that owned it, and this is in the 50s and 60s, Mrs. Hughes. And when you went in there, I can remember the first time I went in there, I was terrified. She had a very severe look and dark warm-rimmed glasses, and I used to think, oh, I don't think I want to go in here. But when you spoke to her, she was so nice. She was a different person altogether.
How often did you go to the shops?
Because the shops were so close by, we used to shop every day. You did a big shop of sort of things for your washing powder and cleaning things. You would do those once a week. But for most things, fresh goods, you would go every day because it was 5 minutes round the corner. We walked. And we took a shopping basket. I used to have the most beautiful little trolley on wheels. Awful thing. And we didn't have carrier bags. So you took bags with you. And then, of course, you had to carry it home.
I'm Catherine. How far did you used to travel to get to the shops, and by what kind of transport?
We would just cycle everywhere. We'd cycle to Gloucester when we got older. And that was not long after. About 12 years old, we'd cycle to Gloucester. We'd cycle down to the Severn. We'd cycle up the hill. Or you'd walk. You never went in a vehicle, other than a bus. You used to go downtown on the bus.
In the years up to the last war, in Cheltenham, had a reputation of being rather snooty. And if you wanted to shop in the promenade, you had to dress correctly.
Did you hear that? So you had to dress up to go shopping if you wanted to dress in the main part of town.
And I believe, and David will probably confirm this, I believe certainly at one stage people were actually stopped walking down the promenade if they weren't dressed properly. Buses weren't allowed to go down there. That is all fairly recent in our time. The biggest stores, Cavendish House in particular, Dick's, who are long gone, who are in what's now called the Lower High Street, but was the main High Street then, had hostels for their women staff. You know, they very often came in from the country, and they would stay in hostels during the week.
Hello, I'm Finley. Do you remember how much things cost in the shops?
When I first married in 1965, I could do all my shopping for me and for Lindsay, my husband, for £5 a week. And we ate very well on that.
I'm Zoe. Did you used to buy ready-made meals before, or were all your meals freshly made?
No, The only ready-made meal you got was fish and chips, and that was usually on a Friday or a Saturday. You never got ready-made meals. Your mothers used to cook every day, and usually we used to ride our bikes or walk home from school at lunchtime, have a hot meal, then go back to school again for the afternoon, and quite often have to swim, do long swims down at Alston Baths, and that was quite a killer if she'd done dumplings with stew.
On the subject of supermarkets, I think we should remember how much things really, really have changed. Transport's changed. I think supermarkets are a good idea in as much they're useful to me because, first of all, I have somewhere to park. At the supermarket, I can get everything I want, even clothes occasionally. It's a good idea to support one's local shop or shops, because if we don't support them, buy anything at all from them, they will go out of business, and as the other gentleman said, we then would be left no choice but the supermarkets.
Hi, my name's Sam, and is there anything that you miss about shopping as it used to be?
The simple thing that people miss is that when you went into a shop, the owner of the shop knew the greater number of his or her customers, and equally the customers knew the owners of the shop. Therefore, you had a personal service and relationship which is not very often seen today.
Hello, my name is Eve, and do you think that people thought more about the environment a long time ago?
When we were asked if we were aware of the environment, I think it's become a very, very big issue in maybe the last 15 or 20 years. When I was a little girl, we didn't have plastic carrier bags. We didn't have disposable nappies. We didn't have global warming. We didn't have the hole in the ozone layer. So life was different. It wasn't such a big problem then. It hadn't been pointed out to us, but it wasn't such a political issue as it is now. The general public wasn't made so aware of it.
The toy shop that I remember from the Bath Road is the one that's still there today, right on the corner of Naunton Crescent and the Bath Road. And my main memory of that shop, it's the first place I ever saw a plastic toy.
Hello, I'm Enid, and I didn't go into a restaurant until I was well into my 20s. I lived in the country, and there were no restaurants.
My name's Noah, and were things wrapped differently in shops before?
When we used to go, when I was young, we used to go to the shops. If you bought something, if it was a present for my mother or something, then the lady would wrap it up in some nice paper and put some little string round it, make it very nice, because she knew that I would never be able to do it. It'd be a waste of time, me doing it. But then if you went to other shops and they say, if you were buying food or groceries or anything, they'd say, right, there you are. And then you'd have to put your bag, and any old bag, and they would just throw if it was potatoes, they'd just throw those into your bag, and, you say, I want some carrots, yes. And they'd weigh those, throw those in the same bag, and so on and so forth. And you'd have everything from the grocers in one bag, and when you took it home, tip it up, and then my mother used to sort it out.
In the olden days, you used to take a basket or a bag, and everything would be wrapped individually and put in your bag, very often wrapped in paper or greaseproof. They were wrapped in things that would degrade or that you could reuse. So one of the biggest changes has been the quality and the type of wrapping that we've used in order to bring all these foods from so far away.
Nothing came pre-packed, nothing. The tea was weighed out, the sugar was weighed out, and the biscuits were weighed out. And so it was quite a performance wrapping.
Thank you.
When we first did the sliced bread, when we first brought the slicing machine in, that was quite a performance. It was really something else.
Hello, my name is Hannah. Do you remember eating international foods such as pizzas and curries?
Well, the simple answer for me is no, we didn't. because things like that weren't at all popular. And I think certainly for my family, there was a great deal of suspicion about what they called foreign foods, things like curries. And I don't think my parents would dare ever buy a thing called a curry, and we certainly were never encouraged to eat anything like that. The only convenient food which is not at all like curry or international was the good old fish and chips.
I am married to a Polishman, and when we were early in the marriage, I had never tasted any Polish food whatsoever. But in the 60s, a van used to come round once a week, and I was introduced to all the different sausages, the gherkins, and the salads, and all that kind of thing. And he used to sell it from his van once a week. And it used to be a treat to go out there, and I had to learn how to cook all the different foods. And my mother-in-law lived with us, and she eventually showed me how to do it. But the children, even, and the grandchildren, love Polish sausage now.
Takeaways and international food really started to happen after the war because people were travelling much more, and the whole way that women cooked changed. So really there was a big shift pre-1950 and after 1950, really, after the war.
We used to have a van come round. It was a green van called Wren's Fish and Chips. And every Friday night, the chip van used to come round. That was our first takeaway.